Welcome back. Today we take a journey into history, mystery, and crime, all tied to one location, Peace Church Cemetery in Joplin, Missouri. There's a man by the name of Peter R. Johnson that homesteaded a spot in the late 1830s. There he raised 16 children in a log cabin, a little north of a spring-fed stream known today as Turkey Creek. And just west of the cabin would become Peace Church and Peace Church Cemetery. One of his daughters, named Lily Johnson, after her daily chores were done, she loved to sit by the fire and listen to the pioneer stories of her community. One night, her great-uncle John James Jones started telling a story. Peace Cemetery came into being because of necessity. His father, James Albert Jones, was hired out as a driver on a freighter when he was in his teens. The freighters drawn by oxen or mules back then are like the truck drivers today, supplying the general stores with goods for the communities. One of the biggest items in demand was salt. The salt was used for preserving hides until they could be tanned, to preserve foods, and making salt lick to lure animals they could kill for meat for their families. There were two places in Indian Territory where salt was easily obtained. One of the places you could just take out your shovel and scoop it up. Today known as the Great Salt Flats of the Salt Fork Arkansas River. With really good weather and luck, they could make the round trip between 7 to 8 weeks. He earned the nickname Old Saltpeter Jones. That name stuck with him for the rest of his life. After a few years of driving the freighter, he started acquiring his own oxen and wagon. On one of the return salt hauls in the mid-1800s, one of his African-American employees became ill. So Old Saltpeter Jones started out quite a bit ahead of the others in his ox freighter with his load of salt, letting the ill worker ride in one of the better wagons. As the day went on, the man was getting worse. That evening, as he came into camp at Tingle's Ford, one of the drivers approached him and said the worker hadn't made it, and wanted to know what to do with him. He responded, "We're going to bury him, of course." The driver asked where. He answered, "I don't know. But while you and the men fix supper, I'll walk up north a little ways beyond the Tingle property line and see if I can find a high knoll somewhere." When he returned, he told the men, "I found a quiet, peaceful-looking place. As far as the story goes, that is the first of many graves in Peace Church Cemetery." So jumping ahead in time just a little bit to July 5th, 1864, that was the beginning of the Civil War in Missouri. With the Battle of Carthage in Jasper County just a few miles away from Peace Church Cemetery, there were a large number of men killed during the fight and buried in the cemetery, with multiple bodies per grave, with nothing but a pile of rocks to show the location. On May 18, 1863, in Jasper County, Missouri, 25 black soldiers from the 1st Kansas Colored and about 20 white soldiers from the 2nd Kansas Volunteer Artillery Battery, who were on horseback, arrived at the Raider farmhouse to look for food, when they were ambushed by a rebel Confederate guerrilla unit led by Major Thomas Livingston of about 70 men. The Union foraging party was collecting corn from the Raider farm to feed soldiers at Fort Blair in Baxter Springs, Kansas. Black soldiers from Fort Blair, commanded by white soldiers of a Union artillery battery, were moving corn from the attic of the farm to wagons when Livingston's soldiers attacked from the woods as they came up from Peace Church Cemetery. As the U.S. soldiers scrambled for their weapons and tried to escape the massacre, 15 black soldiers and 3 white soldiers were killed, mutilated, and the rest made their way back to Baxter Springs outpost that night, informing their fellow comrades what had happened. On the morning of May 19th, Hundreds of Union soldiers from Baxter Springs made their way back to the Raider farm looking for retribution. Commander Colonel James Williams was furious to find the bodies of his fallen troops severely mutilated. The commander decided it was best to cremate the mutilated soldiers because of the warm weather. They piled the dead bodies in the Raider house, and before they set the house ablaze, a rebel prisoner who they thought was a part of the ambush the day before was brought to the commander. The commander had him march into the house and shot, and his body thrown on top of the pile of mangled soldiers. They set the house ablaze along with the entire town of Sherwood. The town of Sherwood was never rebuilt. Through the years, many have shared their accounts of apparitions of Civil War soldiers being seen near Peace Church Cemetery. Could these be the restless souls of that massacre? Now, if you look up Peace Church Cemetery, there's one name that stands out most of all, which is the spree killer Billy Cook Jr., or Cockeyed Cook. William Billy Cook Jr. was born in 1929 near Joplin, Missouri, and was one of 8 children fathered by an abusive alcoholic miner that often spent time at the Joplin House of Lords, a notorious saloon and brothel. Billy's mother died when he was 5 years old. The coroner determined she had passed away due to cerebral hemorrhage, a brain bleed that could have been caused by high blood pressure, stroke, brain tumor, or just an accident. There was speculation that Billy's father may have played a role in her death, but there was no solid evidence to suggest this was truly the case. Oddly enough, her obituary did not mention William Cook Sr. as her husband. After her death, Billy's father moved the family into an empty zinc mine. After some time, their father abandoned them there in the mine. Welfare workers placed Billy's siblings in foster homes, but little Billy Cook was rejected over and over because of a congenital deformity that prevented his right eye from closing completely. The resulting sinister look unnerved prospective foster parents, and Billy found placement only when the court agreed to pay his room and board. Unfortunately, his foster mother was more interested in the money she was getting for keeping him than raising him correctly. 2 years in a row, he was given a bike for Christmas. In both years, they were immediately repossessed for lack of payment. As Billy got older, he started running the streets at night and committing crimes of petty theft. At age 12, he was arrested for truancy and told the court he would rather go to reform school than go back to his foster home. Billy was released a few months later, and as soon as he got out, he immediately robbed a cab driver of $11, giving him another 5 years in the reformatory. Billy would have violent outbursts there, resulting in him being transferred to the old Missouri State Prison in Jefferson City when he turned 17. There he earned a reputation for brawling, and one time nearly killed another inmate with a baseball bat because the inmate was joking about Billy's droopy eyelid. At some point, he got the tattoo "Hard Luck" across his left hand, symbolizing his life and the hard times he endured. Billy was released in 1950 at the age of 21. Billy stopped in Joplin, Missouri long enough to see his father and left him with this. Billy told his father that he planned to live by the gun and roam. After that, Billy hitchhiked to California and ended up in the small desert town of Blythe. He got a job in a diner, washing dishes, the only job he had ever had. There, he worked with a woman by the name of Cecilia that was always kind to Billy. In late December of the 1950s, he headed east to Texas and purchased a .32 caliber revolver. This would be the beginning of Billy's 22-day crime spree. On December 30th, 1950, Billy was picked up by 56-year-old mechanic Lee Archer near Lubbock, Texas, while hitchhiking. Billy robbed the man of $100 at gunpoint and forced him to get into the trunk of the car. Archer escaped in Oklahoma by prying open the trunk with a tire iron and jumped out when Billy was slowly turning down a side road. Billy heard the banging trunk lid and stopped. He jumped from the car and pointed his pistol at Archer, who was by then desperately sprinting across the flatland. It was either run or be killed by this maniac. Archer later said Billy shouted after him, "You better stop, mister. I'm gonna kill you for sure if you keep running." Archer kept running, and Billy, saving ammo, pocketed the gun, got back into the stolen car, and drove off. Billy ran out of gas on Highway 66 between Tulsa and Claremore on New Year's Eve. Billy abandoned the car and went back to posing as a hitchhiker when the Moser family, Carl Moser, a 33-year-old farmer from Atwood, Illinois, his wife, and 3 kids heading to New Mexico, saw Billy and decided to stop and offer help to what they thought was just another motorist in trouble. Billy flashed his gun and ordered Moser to drive him around. For the next 3 days and nights, they covered 2,500 miles, crisscrossing through Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. When they stopped for gas in Wichita Falls, Texas, Moser saw one last opportunity to free his family. Inside the store, Moser grabbed Billy and wrestled with him, but the frightened elderly attendant pointed an old .44 caliber pistol at the 2 men and ordered them outside. Moser pleaded with the attendant, shouting, "He's been in my car all day. He's got a gun and he's said he'll kill us." "Let him loose," shouted the attendant from the doorway of the store. Billy broke free and pulled his gun, again subduing Moser. When the elderly attendant saw this, he locked the door of his store, but thought better of his mistake and went to his pickup truck, giving chase to Billy and the Moser family. Billy saw the old man gaining on him and stopped the car. Standing in the middle of the road, he fired a few shots at the old man. The old man turned around and gave up the pursuit. He later reported the incident to police. But by then, Cook and the Moser family had driven out of the state. After that, they went to Carlsbad, New Mexico. From there, they went to El Paso and Houston, Texas, and Winthrop, Arkansas. The journey ended back in Joplin, Missouri. The 3 Moser children, Ronald, 7, Pamela, 3, and Gary, 5, had grown restless. Thelma Moser had lost her composure. Billy told the family that he was going to tie them up and leave them unharmed in the field so that he had time to get away. He cut strips of cloth from their clothing to bind the parents' hands together and gagged them. Cook used bright yellow cord cut from the children's cowboy hats to bind their wrists. Billy killed the family, including the dog. Billy drove the bodies to the mine shaft in the Chitwood district of Joplin, Missouri, near 3rd and Maiden Lane. Throwing the bodies down the shaft one at a time, the car was later found in Oklahoma full of bullet holes and soaked in blood. But Billy made one mistake. He left the receipt of the pistol he had purchased, and now the police had a name. Billy returned to Blythe, California. The deputy sheriff, Homer Waldrop, was suspicious that the Billy Cook his wife Cecilia had worked with at the diner was the same man in the wanted bulletins that had been put out by the Oklahoma law enforcement. Waldrop went to the motel that Billy stayed at while he was working at the diner to question the man who had shared the room with Billy. But Waldrop was surprised to meet up with Billy at the door instead. Billy took Waldrop hostage at gunpoint with his own gun. Billy made Waldrop drive him around without a destination. After a while, Billy had Waldrop stop, get out of the car, and lay face down in the ditch. Billy told Waldrop he was going to shoot him in the back of the head. While he awaited the gunshot, Billy walked back to the patrol car and drove away. Billy told reporters later that he didn't shoot the deputy because his wife Cecilia was always nice to him and treated him like a human being, and was nicer to him than anybody had ever been. Next, Billy kidnapped another driver named Robert Dewey from Seattle. At one point, the man tried to wrestle the gun from Billy, but was wounded in the process. During the struggle, the car swerved off the road. Billy shot Dewey once in the head and left his body in the ditch. Billy then kidnapped two men, James Burke and Forrest Dameron. He made the men drive him across the Mexican border and stop in Santa Rosalia. By this point, law enforcement everywhere were looking for Billy. Billy was recognized by the police chief in Santa Rosalia. He walked right up to Billy and grabbed the .32 revolver from his belt before Billy could react. Billy was placed under arrest and was taken to the border where FBI agents were waiting to take Billy. At the time of Billy's arrest, Billy said, "I hate everyone's guts and everybody hates mine." Billy was transported back to Oklahoma for the trial for the Moser family. Billy was convicted for killing the Moser family and was sentenced to 300 years in prison. Then Billy was extradited back to California for the death of Robert Dewey. Billy was convicted and sentenced to death. On December 12, 1952, William Cook Jr. was executed in the gas chamber at San Quentin Prison, where Billy's siblings intervened. They hired a lawyer, took back possession of their brother, and brought him back to Joplin, Missouri. One of Billy's sisters paid to have his body returned to Joplin at night to avoid the press. Billy's body was buried in the family plot at Peace Church Cemetery. As the news spread, there was public outcry and opposition to the burial of the infamous killer in the cemetery. Billy Cook's grave was quietly moved just outside the original grounds of the cemetery, but still near the family plot. It is common to go to the cemetery and see piles of items left in various spots that people believe is where his unmarked grave is. In 1987, three 17-year-old boys from Carl Junction, Missouri, had engaged in animal sacrifice and ended up beating an acquaintance of theirs to death with a bat just for the thrill of it. During the murder trial, they claimed they were involved in Satan worship and were influenced by the spirit of Billy Cook to commit the murder. Billy was also inspired for the film noir classic The Hitchhiker that premiered in 1953, and he is thought to also have inspired the song Riders on the Storm by The Doors. Supporters of the theory point to the verse as follows: "There's a killer on the road, his brain is jumping like a toad. Take a long holiday, let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road." Whether there is any truth to this theory will never be known, since the man that wrote these lyrics, Jim Morrison, died July 1971. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment down below. And remember, whether it be planes, trains, or UFOs, there's always a story to tell.